Welcome to the Dev Talk Show. It is Wednesday, May 11th, and we are here for another exciting episode of the Dev Talk Show. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Andy Schwam, and I am here with Chris Gomez and Rich Ross, and we are looking forward to the show. I'm looking forward to the show. I missed a week last week when we had Brian Manisi here talking about Bicep, although I did try to tune in for a couple minutes of it. I was actually working a rare late work night for me, but I did tune in for a bit of the show and caught some of that, and I'm a big fan of Bicep, so that was pretty cool. And let's see, are you guys with us? Rich, you doing there? You there?
Yeah, I'm here. That was a fun show last week. We certainly missed you. Yeah, sorry, I was listening. That's what happens when I turn the volume up on the playback. Go ahead. Sorry, Andy.
Yeah. It gets a little crazy, right? So so tonight, Rich is playing producer and busy worrying about, the typical beginning there. He's worrying about all the audio, and Chris is probably over there prepping his notes because he's going to be taking us through some cool demos tonight. How you doing, Chris? You with us?
Yeah, it's good to see everybody. It's already the middle of May, which I just think is crazy. And the days are already, I was just thinking about how the days were so short, and now they're longer. And we just had a softball game here that ended around 8, and it was still light out. So
oh yeah, how about that?
Yeah, it's not light anymore, but it was right through 8 o'clock, and that was cool. It's nice that they, we get to do this stuff this time. It's not even quite June, July yet, where it really can stay light for a while, at least up here in the, in our area.
Yeah, it definitely is. And the weather's been pretty nice. Yesterday, working from home, of course, right? So yesterday I went and sat out in the back porch for a while because it's like, there's not that much time when that works really well because it's either too cold or too hot, right? But I try to take advantage of those spring days and go sit out on the back porch, but I'll be on a conference call and sometimes the birds are so loud out there, and I'm like, oh God, I can't be on a call with these birds chirping in the background. I guess I don't know. Do you guys ever? Well, Rich, you don't usually work from home, I guess, but Chris, do you ever sit outside when you're working? Do you work at home, Rich?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nowadays, I guess. Yeah, I'm thinking of the old days, and you couldn't.
Oh, the old days now, but I think, much like many businesses, we rethink that a little bit. So coming into the office every day may no longer be a thing. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Chris, were you saying, do you sit outside sometimes?
Probably not as much as I should. And I think it's because of what you said is it seems like unless it's great out for many days in a row, it doesn't kick into my head. Like, it might be okay to sit out. And because we actually have been kind of on the chilly side until just this past week or two where it's just been gorgeous. So it's kind of clicking in my head now that like, oh,
yeah, and of course, like me, I mean, if I go outside, I'm at laptop screen only, as opposed to the multiple monitors. So if I have certain things I'm doing, particularly if I'm doing like a lot of reading, like if I've got some articles to read, for work or something like that, I think those are good opportunities to get outside because the weather can be so nice, and it just feels so good to be getting some fresh air. Actually I ate lunch outside today. That was kind of cool. Actually I was in the office today. I went out to lunch, sat outside. That was kind of nice.
Nice.
Cool.
So, yeah. So what else is going on? Rich, what do you got?
Well, I was kind of looking through the articles, and this one was actually kind of timely in that it came out last week. And it also, let me see if I can share my screen here. It also was kind of timely for the conversation I was having because it was about a customer who is kind of rethinking architectures and moving things up into Azure. So let's see. And kind of the gist of this as I switch over. Yeah, oh, definitely. Let me get that out of the way and bring this in so you guys can see it.
That's a little
There we go.
small. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
That's nice. All right, so I'll let everybody else see it now.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so I thought this was kind of interesting, right? Because this article talks about 5 best practices to anticipate failure. If you think about how we might have done things on premises or in your data centers in the past, it was always don't let anything fail, and protecting the environment, protecting the applications that we're running so that nothing could fail. But oftentimes you want to, when you start moving to the cloud, you want to kind of anticipate, well, what happens if something fails, and build those things into not only your architecture, but build them into your applications as well. So it actually has some really interesting, there's an interesting article here that Daniel Stocker put out last week that talks through the 5 important things to think about, and has a lot of great links to not only the Azure Architecture Guide, but other things that are in place in our Docs environment, like the well-architected framework for building cloud applications, things like Azure Advisor, and some of the other cool stuff. Well, obviously we're talking about automation as well, so GitHub Actions or Azure Pipelines. But basically, it's a whole 5 main points, right? Minimize your time to recovery. So if something does fail, make sure that you're able to get back up and running quickly. Maximizing automation, because if you're moving things into the cloud, if you really want to take advantage of them, you should be doing some kind of automation for your build and your deployments and your testing. So being able to do those components. This is something that sounds funny, but kind of isn't. But minimize the blast radius, right? If something is going to fail, what can you do to protect just the area where things might have failed, and not have it cascade and impact the rest of your application. So whether that is architecture patterns or cloud design patterns, things like circuit breakers or load leveling or throttling of your traffic as it goes through your applications. All of those are some really good patterns when you start thinking about having applications that talk to APIs that talk to other services that potentially could lose that connectivity to. So basically being able to protect the rest of the application so it's up and running. What else we got? Maximize observability to minimize disruption. So monitoring is obviously key here. Look at the telemetry that comes through as your application is up and being used. And then finally, maximize continuous improvement efforts. So basically, and there's a link to and sorry, now I'm blanking on the person who wrote this. Daniel mentions around site reliability engineering and some of the key principles around that, about helping the team get comfortable with constant change, establish a blameless post-incident process, allocate time to improve your monitoring and instrumentation, right? All the good things that you should be doing as a good team, as a good DevOps team. So I think there's if you're new to cloud computing or you're new to architecting for the cloud, I think this really steps you through a lot of the things that you have to change in your mindset from being on premises or being in data center applications and moving those up into some kind of a cloud environment. So I would definitely recommend checking this post out.
Yeah, that's good. We should get you could stick that up in the chat. That'd be great too, and a link to that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that from a cloud perspective, right? And so certainly, of course, I agree with everything you said, right? I would say though that I would hope people wouldn't limit that to cloud. I mean, sure, we're all pretty much doing everything in the cloud these days. Well, maybe not everybody, but even in your data center, right? You should anticipate failure, right? And you should fail gracefully.
Right.
I think one of the mistakes a lot of teams, we make too many assumptions and we assume like, well, if our database is down, well, obviously the app's going to crash. Well, the app doesn't have to crash if the database is down. The app could give a nice message saying, I'm sorry, but it shouldn't lock up, right? It shouldn't be unresponsive. And there's so many things like that. That we could do a better job of, I think, as developers to know that if one part of the system fails or gets disconnected or whatever, that the system itself, the overall system, should still try to do as much as possible. And like you said, I think it was isolation. That point about isolation is like, don't let the whole thing crash. I mean, in some cases, your app might really just not be usable at all without, let's say, the database, right? But that doesn't mean you can't have a nice, friendly warning message, as opposed to being unresponsive.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And you're right. If you do these in your on-premises environment, if that's where you are right now, those practices and those having that resilience in your application is going to make it that much easier for you to move things into a cloud environment if that's where your application winds up going in the future.
Oh yeah. No, that's a great article. Hey, let's take a sec to say hello to some people in chat. Hector HSC saying hello, and Off the Rails Gaming is here, and Dark Elders here, and so nice to see some of our friends in the chat and participating in the show and helping make our show more exciting for everybody. We appreciate that. We appreciate everybody that's here. And if you're just hanging out and you're not chatting, well, thanks for being here too. Glad to have you here with us for another fun-filled episode of the Dev Talk Show, right? Wednesday nights, 8:30. You guys know where to be. Right here with us. Well, 8:30 Eastern time, I should say, as some of our friends.
8:35 by the time we get things lined up.
8:35. Yeah. Hey, sometimes a little later than that too, right? Sometimes a little later. But yeah. Do you have any other articles you wanted to share? Or was that the only one for tonight?
I don't have any other articles, but I will say that I'm starting to work on this project. Let me bring it up here.
I love that you've been doing this lately on the show. The way we've been starting the show off lately, where you're bringing in some sort of smaller bits, starting us off with some, news or a great article that you read. I like this. I really enjoy this. I appreciate it.
Cool. Appreciate that. So let me do this, bring this up so everybody else can see it. So this is not where it's going to reside. I'm actually moving it to another location, but I'll have a forwarding link out of here once it does move. I'm moving with a bunch of other open source projects that I'm doing with some colleagues at work. But we talked a couple weeks ago about Power Platform. And one of the things that we didn't dive into very deeply was something called a custom connector. And custom connector, and we might have mentioned it, we talked about Power Automate and Logic Apps and all of those services in Azure and various platforms have connectors that come out of the box, hundreds of connectors because of things that we know about. All the Azure services, third-party services like Google and Salesforce and what have you. We know about those. What we don't know about are your line of business applications, and that's where custom connector comes to play. So you might have your line of business application and it has its own API landscape over top of it. How can you get that so that you can take advantage of that data and bring it into the Power Platform, whether it's an application or it's Power Automate? And a custom connector is how that is done. There's a new part of a custom connector. Maybe I should just do, let me turn this off for a second, because maybe I can show you what I mean piecewise. 1 second. I can talk while this is loading up. When we think about, let's do that one. That one. So when we think about the custom connector piece, what it's doing is it's actually, it has a bit of a Swagger definition, so it understands the API that it's talking to. And as it gets to that API, it has some authentication that you can provide, whether it's an open or an OAuth authentication, or maybe it's just an access key, because that's all it needs to be able to talk to your API. But those kind of interesting. Those kind of connectors. Here we go. Bring this back up. Because I'm pretty sure I built one in here. Yeah. There we go. So this is using, I don't know if you've ever done the API management tutorial, but there is a conference API that's out there.
Yes, I remember that. Yep.
And that conference API has essentially, speakers, sessions, all of those kind of things. This probably came over from our API management instance, so a lot of this information got populated. But as we build out this custom connector, there's security, there's the overall definition of the API that's in place here, And you can see that we have a request. That request has some query variables that we could put in place. And then we have a response here. And that response essentially brings back a rough JSON structure of what that API looks like. And let me see, I might be able to, might still remember if I do.
I might need to zoom in a little bit on some of this stuff too. You know, it's really funny too. I don't know what it is. I think it's the color. But when you're doing this, you're showing that power platform screen, I keep thinking that you're in OneNote. I guess because of the purple or something like that. But it's the funniest thing. I'm like, why are you in OneNote?
So let's see if I do sessions off of here. Right. So this is essentially what the API would return. Right. And you see what it has here. It has while this might have made sense from a developer perspective, oftentimes who's using this is an end user or a business person, or citizen developers, as we like to call them. So there's a data section in here, and it's essentially an array of key value pairs. So there's the title, there's the time slot for when the session is, there's the speaker, right? So it makes sense to us, but it may not make sense to someone who's not a developer. So I don't want to break that contract though, because other applications are using that API. So if I was to go to the person who owns this API and say change it, it's going to break other APIs. We don't want to do that. But what we can do is let that traffic come back into the custom connector, into here, and use this component here called code. And essentially we're writing a class. And what that class will do is just basically going to take that JSON or that response that came back from the API. So that response comes back here. And I'm just going to basically take it and change the data structure of it up so that I have properties at the root level. Oh, wow. That is the reference, the title, the time slot, and the speaker. And then if I was to bring this into Power Automate or bring this into into a Power App, I just have to hit this item dot and I get title instead of having to do a lookup against, well, where's the title value for that key that sits in this array. Right.
That's really cool.
Makes it a lot.
Yeah.
It is pretty cool. And then we could let's try the test and see if this works. I forget. We don't have to put any components in there. Let's let this run.
But you're still returning, is it a JSON object that you're still returning, right? It's just.
Yes. But you see the structure is different.
Yeah.
So you see
I get that. I wonder if you, look at that. I wonder if you could do that in a sort of generic fashion where you, since it's key value pairs, well, it would be hard to get the shape of the data right. But you could kind of do that, but it wouldn't be probably quite as good as what you're doing. But that's a really cool idea.
Yeah. So this is, this is one of the ways that you could use this code capability here. You might want to call out to other services and inject information, and you do have some limitations in that, it's got to finish within 5 seconds, and the overall code can't be more than a megabyte. But the problem is this structure here, it inherits from something called script base. So there's certain methods that have to get overridden, and the documentation tells you what the shape of that object is behind the scenes. I can't easily do this in the web page here because I don't have any way to debug it. I don't have any way to really get a response or to see what's going wrong. So what I did was, not that. There we go. If we go to here, I actually just created a console project that has a program, and it has essentially the script base, and the script context. Those are all the things that are visible behind the scenes, but it gives me a chance to build out my script file the way it needs to be, so that I can run it, test it, do it locally, but do it in a way, if I go back to my program file, where I'm actually calling the real API. So I'd replace this with my conference API. I would replace this if I was using API management and I was doing an API key. So I could just basically change a couple of values, wire it up just like it was sitting in the custom connector, so that what I get back here is the response is the same response that the custom connector is going to have. So it's just a way of, if you're doing Power Platform stuff, if you're doing something that might take advantage of this, here's a project that can get you up and running and debugging and building it without having to kind of do all that plumbing yourself.
So the first part was sort of a built-in feature, right?
Yep.
Where you could add code in there. but it's not as robust, right? I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. Instead, you're using a custom connector,
Correct.
and that way, and you're building out your own .NET code in an environment where you can debug it and do all the good things with it, and probably have it in source code, source control, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And basically, I did it. I wrote it up so that we could, show this off to a customer and show what was possible. Actually, we did it as part of a workshop. But then since all that stuff was there, I figured, well, hey, let's just go ahead, throw it out on a GitHub repo and share it in case others might be doing Power Platform work and want to take advantage of that. So
nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I think it's, I'll be honest, that is probably my first open sourced, specifically delivered open source project. There's a lot of projects I have here in my GitHub repo, but not, certainly not one where, the goal was to share it and make something possible for other people to use.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of neat too, right? You're out there. You're
Oh yeah, he's out
doing
there.
things for the community and helping the world one line of code at a time.
That's right.
That's
You're right,
cool.
so you don't have to.
So for people that are watching, they're probably wondering, like, what's all this talk about custom connectors and all that? I thought we were talking about terminal. Well, we are. We're just having a little fun at the beginning of the show. Rich is just bringing in some knowledge and sharing some cool stuff with us. But Chris is going to talk to us about oh-my-posh and Windows Terminal, right? Chris, you ready with that, or?
Yeah, let me
Yeah, give us the background here. I mean, I think a lot of people are familiar with Windows Terminal or Terminal, right? But although I would bet that viewers of the show have an inkling of Oh-my-posh, because it's come up in conversation a few times on recent episodes, and I've always been like, "Ooh, that's pretty cool," And I think a lot of people, I think it has a little bit of that wow factor, when you first see it, like, "Oh, yeah, okay." But new viewers may not be familiar with it.
Yeah, so there's a quite a bit of interesting history to this, and I will tell you that oh-my-posh is just one of these. I don't want to call it a framework. In fact, I like the terminology that they use on the site. So if everybody can see my screen, okay, I just want to confirm on the production side.
Yeah.
Yep, we got you.
Okay, cool. So I like this term here, a prompt theme engine for any shell. And then you got to ask yourself, it's kind of like when I do a Git talk and I say, oh, it's a directed acyclic graph. And people are like, what does that mean? So you have to define the terms. It's a prompt theme engine. So first, it customizes your prompt. But then the interesting part about it is you can now, instead of just saying like, hey, I added some cool stuff to your prompt, it's themable. And it's an entire engine that allows you to customize that, and it's pluggable, so people are adding new components all the time. So when I take a look at this particular example command line here, this person has chosen to have their command prompt. Most likely this is the username, and I'll admit I'm guessing what's on this command prompt because it is so customizable that I might be guessing the wrong modules. But I think what this one is saying is, hey, here's my username. This is the folder that I'm in right now. I'm on the main branch relative to GitHub, to the GitHub repo anyways. And a lot of times what this check one means is that the last command I ran succeeded, and then it would be like red with an X if it failed. But it is totally, and then there's also the after prompt stuff. So here was what the actual command was.
That's crazy to me.
The after prompt is like, oh, here's the time and here's the shell I'm in. I'm in ZSH. We're not even talking about Windows right now. This particular example is ZSH. Now, I want to be fair because there's history here. There's no doubt that this is not like the grandparent of all of these. For many years, there have been oh-my-ZSH, which is an open source framework to manage your ZSH configuration if you're using that shell, and to customize it, as you can see in some of these screenshots here. It's kind of customized to say, oh yeah, I'm on the master and Git and so on. And then oh-my-bash designed for Bash. It does the same thing. What caught my attention about oh-my-posh, and it was on this very show, in fact, and I know I'm going to feel terrible because I don't remember exactly who in the audience talked about it. They might be reminding us right now, but it was mentioned. And because of that mention, I said, I should go check out. It's finally time to go check this out because I knew about it. But after hearing someone
Here
say,
we go.
"Oh, this is so good stuff," I don't know. And please, I
Here
think
it
it's
is,
great.
Chris.
I'm
check
missing
the
it right
chat.
now. I'm
Off
sorry.
the rail gaming. Off the rails gaming
Yeah,
says it was
awesome.
me.
Well, I'm glad
Thank
Off
you,
the
Off the
Rails
Rails
Gaming
gaming.
because you're the inspiration for me looking into this, for me making it my daily driver at work. It is. This is now my daily driver, and we figured, hey, let's do a show about it. And so I want to make it clear that this isn't about saying that oh-my-posh is better, worse, same. I mean, use what you love, right? And I have an interesting. We have Tiwahu saying I use it. I got an interesting question because there's a theme in there, if I remember correctly, called Tiwahu, and I've been wondering in my head, like, did that get contributed back to the project? Was that your theme? And maybe we'll see that answer in just a second because I got a feeling it might be. So so what does that mean? Everything I just said. Well, one of the interesting things about the oh-my-posh project, and again, I want to make it clear, I happen to like this, but I really do think that if you're using Linux, Mac, take a look at these. I don't care which one you pick. Take a look at these. But if you happen to be on Windows, now I had the opportunity to put this on Windows PowerShell, on the newish PowerShell. Sometimes people call it PowerShell Core, and WSL, and maybe I got a Linux VM. So I'm consistent across all of these environments on one box. It's kind of cool. So yeah, there it is, the official theme. And I saw that theme in there. When I was looking through the sample themes that come with it, I said, it just seems like too much of a coincidence. I will bet you this is the Tiwahu that comes to the Dev Talk Show. And I seriously mean that. I wasn't just joking around. I said, I will bet you that this is who it is. So that's cool. That's awesome. All right. So what does it mean to use this engine? Well, the docs are pretty good. So I'm going to try to use them to sort of describe how it works. Is you get a file that you will build, you will work through. You can start with themes that are already out there, and that's what I did to get a feel for it. I just started with themes that were built in, and it wasn't very long, as in like half a day, before I couldn't help myself and started saying, okay, I want my own thing, So let's click. I'm going to click in the documentation here on segments, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see these different segments. So what you do is you add segments to your prompt that each track different things. And when I start running down the segments list, it might surprise you or maybe even kind of open your mind a little bit to what is possible. Like here's a segment that will tell you the remaining power percentage on your battery. Here's a segment
cool.
that will tell you what the current Azure Function CLI is that you're using. Here's a segment, one of the most popular, I'm sure, displays information on the Git repository for the folder that you're in. I mean, that's one of the reasons I went to it. Here's a segment here that I thought was pretty cool. Where is it? This one turned out, and I hope to show off why. The currently active Azure subscription information. Now, let me tell you why this turned out to be so darn useful. When you work, somewhere, it's probably not, and you're using Azure. When you start, maybe you're using Azure at home, maybe you're using any cloud service at home. You might have just one subscription, your subscription, and it might even be like a free subscription, so you can try stuff out. So you don't have to manage multiple subscriptions. But once your workplace gets serious about Azure, and tell me if I'm wrong here, you two, I'm curious what you're thinking. You might have a dev subscription that you're free to play and blah and break and who cares. And then there might be like staging and maybe there's prod. And it's important to know what's the active one. If I go run an Azure command right now, where's it going to run? And so
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely, Chris.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I used to spend a lot of time learning commands to look up quickly what's my default subscription? What's my default subscription? I don't need those anymore because it's just gonna boop, here's the subscription you're on. And even cooler, if I log out, it goes away. So now I know I've logged out, and I hope to demo all that in a little bit. So once I got to that segment, I said, oh, I'm converting. Like this is my daily driver now is PowerShell core with oh-my-posh. And then if I drop into WSL, it all works there. And that works really well for me. And there's plenty of other ones too. So I want to show what this looks like. And I think inadvertently, we're probably going to get to spend a little time talking about Windows Terminal. I do have WSL going, and I've got a Linux VM booted up, a Linux Mint VM. I don't know if we'll get to it. In fact, that might be the live thing where we sort of struggle around and see if we can get it working. I don't know if you're new to the show. We show things sometimes like I kind of say like, hey, I kind of think I have this part down, but we're the Dev Talk Show. We work live. Sometimes we try stuff out based on stuff that happens in the audience. When somebody says like, hey, why don't you try this? We'll try it. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, at least we gave it a shot. So
yeah, I'm going to do this one along with you because I don't have this in my oh-my-posh implementation. So, and I definitely need it because I think I have about a dozen subscriptions that my name is associated with.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's just take a look at. I will tell you right now, the docs are pretty good. Now, what I did in order to get ready for tonight is because I want to get to the place where we're showing the Azure module. I have the Azure CLI installed, which is pretty darn easy nowadays. I think I even used winget to grab it.
Yep.
Installing it on a Linux machine is super dumb easy. In fact, if you just type AZ, it's going to tell you, oh, you don't have it. So sudo apt-get AZ or whatever. Maybe it's yum. I don't know. Whatever your distribution wants. It's just going to tell you, go get it. And then and that just works. So that's pretty cool stuff. So awesome. You're going to make me add an Azure segment. Well, let's see. I hope so. I hope if I get really stuck, I do have my work laptop here that I think I can get into the show with a little bit of a delay so that I can show you so we don't have to fumble around too much. I found this documentation really, really great. I really did. So winget install oh-my-posh is where I went with it, and it worked. And when I said, well, how do you do it on Linux? I followed this along. I don't have brew, so I went over to manual and I followed these steps, and sure enough, just boom, there it goes. Same thing over in WSL, right? So it was pretty cool for me. Anyways, I found it very straightforward. So let's open up. I happen to have Windows 11. So a muscle memory that I used to have down pretty well was I used to hit the start button, type WT, and then Control-Shift-Enter. But for some reason that I haven't figured out yet, Control-Shift-Enter is not opening it as an administrator prompt in Windows 11. And I've seen other people complain about this too, and I don't know what the deal is. So now I've kind of changed my muscle memory to be Windows X. And what you can't see on the screen is the start menu started over here, that right-click start menu. And I just go Windows X A, and now I've probably blacked out for a UAC prompt, and I have an administrator terminal. Now, my home terminal is still set to command prompt first. That's something I just haven't gotten around to changing. And you can also see, which I'm happy to talk about, you can see I customize my terminal in a way where I like to visually look at it and say like, okay, I know the star field is good old command, which if you know me, you know that I have been clinging to command until oh-my-posh. I was still clinging to command. And now I finally keeled over and said, nope, I actually kind of like PowerShell Core, which I don't have installed on this machine, but Windows PowerShell is going to work just fine. And then of course I can fire up Ubuntu, and I like to customize the background so that at a glance I just know what I'm working in, which I find to be pretty cool. So here we are. Oh-my-posh is installed. I have run winget. So you might look at it and say like, well, wait a second, I'm not seeing. You said the prompt. What? I don't get it. So the reason why is because there's a command that you run to invoke the prompt. And until you get that put into your PowerShell profile or maybe your bash RC, that's not going to run every time. So that command, which again, in the documentation, and I'll bring that up just so everybody can see it, especially if you're watching on YouTube or you go back and watch on YouTube, I really went to oh-my-posh.dev and I followed these steps. I followed the installation step for the different platform. And then in the prompt step, it tells you with each prompt type, like, hey, here's how you get going. Now, I am not going to add it to my PowerShell profile yet. I'm going to be a little bit of a rogue and just start it from here. Oh-my-posh, init on PowerShell, and my prompt will be transformed. The default, this is just how the default looks, and for me, like, you might be looking at this and saying like, man, I don't even know what just happened. Well, this shell, this pathing segment is only showing the latest, which you may or may not like. I actually kind of customized it to a way I like, and I should be able to bring that in later. This is telling me that I'm an administrator, this little lightning bolt. At least I'm pretty sure that's what it's telling me, and I'm going to prove that real quick by opening up another terminal. This is one reason why I wanted to be able to do both. So let me just have this second terminal.
So Chris,
really, yeah. Yep.
No, just to let you know, and I was on mute before I was talking and you didn't hear me, but I'm playing along here,
Oh,
right?
okay.
I wanted to see what would happen. So I've installed it, right? And it was super easy to install. I tried to say that, but I didn't realize I was on mute. So when I did this init PowerShell thing, mine looks different because you've already got some stuff, right?
No, this is the default. I haven't touched anything. I'm surprised this didn't work though,
Okay.
but I'll worry about that in a
Mine
second.
looks very different than what you have.
Yeah, I didn't do really anything. Now let me ask you this. Does yours look kind of like, because this is the next step, does yours look kind of like this? Let's hope this comes up and doesn't blow up on me, where it's all messed up. Okay, awesome. You know what,
Yeah.
Andy? It's almost like I paid you.
Well,
because the next step
sure.
is to talk about fonts. So
yep.
This
that makes
Unicode
sense.
garbage is because we don't have a compatible font. And I'm going to admit, here's a little bit of a failing, kind of, where if you get excited and you don't stop and kind of read the docs, you get excited and you go, oh man, what happened? So they talk about here, there are rectangles instead of icons in my prompt. And it's because the fonts that get taken advantage of are called nerd fonts. And I'll be honest, I'd sort of kind of heard of nerd fonts, but I hadn't really investigated them. So the next step is to talk a little bit about nerd fonts. So like nerd fonts, what is that? And I'm going to click on nerdfonts.com. And these are fonts where they patch developer centric icons into the massive Unicode set alongside a font you might already care about, most likely a monospaced font that is used in editors. So you've got Cascadia Code, you've got a consoleless version, and the ones that are popular. And I'm going to zoom in here so we can see. And they've patched in icons that are popular in Font Awesome and in the Dev Icons pack and in Material Design. And so what ends up happening is now you've got your icons for branding and Git and stuff that you can bring into your theme. So yeah, you got to go grab a font. So now your question is going to be like, well, what's the best way for me to do that? And the answer, I'm going to be careful and say there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways, but the one that I think is a good way to start is Cascadia Code Nerd Font. If you're on Windows, you can get Cascadia Code Nerd Font 2.1 out of Chocolatey. So if you simply search for Cascadia Code Nerd Font, Andy, I'm hoping that you see the Chocolatey package for Cascadia Code Nerd Font 2.1.0. Is this the only way to do it? No. But I found this to be one click. Like, I already have Chocolatey installed. Choco install.
See, I don't have Chocolatey. I don't think I have Chocolatey, and that is not the first thing that came up when I searched. By the way, it took me back to Nerd Font.
Yeah, so Cascadia Code
Nerd. You can download it from.
Yeah, you can.
It looks like Nerd Fonts has downloads.
Yeah.
But I don't know which one of those is Cascadia. I see a whole bunch of.
So I want to make it clear that this isn't the only nerd font you can choose.
There's a whole bunch of them on their website.
Right. So when it comes to Windows Terminal, once I got this installed because I chose this, I'm telling you, I searched, I said, "Oh, Choco, okay, fine, just do it, Choco. Just get it over with." Then back in terminal land, I did go to the settings, and you can do this in the JSON, but we'll keep it all GUI for now. In the settings, I get to set profiles for all my different shells, and for Windows PowerShell, I go to Appearance, and my font is Cascadia Cove Nerd Font. Once I set that, the little glyphs start to appear. So there, I'd be honest, there is a piece that could be frustrating for you and could make you say, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I this doesn't work for me." I get it. So if you're watching this live, you're watching it or repeat, I'm glad Andy stopped us there, because that's exactly where I was like, now yours isn't going to look like this until you get a nerd font installed to work with.
Yeah, you know what? I tried that command. Turns out I do have Chocolatey installed.
Okay.
But then it warned me and said I'm not running PowerShell
as an admin.
So yeah. I think I'm going to say no.
Yep.
And then I'm going to rerun it as an admin, which I think you were talking about before. But that's
Windows
okay.
X and then A.
Oh, really? Windows X. Hang on, let's try that. Windows. Yeah. This is almost like a hands-on lab here. Windows X.
Yeah.
A.
Yep. And now when I show you this, this isn't. When I hit Windows X, this is what the start menu does in Windows 11. But because I did it with my right-click mouse there, I can't hit A. You see how all the underlines are missing? When you hit Windows X, the A next to Windows Terminal admin in parentheses is going to be underlined, which says, "Oh, you can hit A now," but I can't because I use the mouse. I'm going to be honest, I don't like that. Even though I right-clicked, please show me the keyboard shortcuts. I mean, there may be a very good reason. Maybe an accessibility expert might tell me why that shouldn't work that way, or another GUI expert. But now I can't demo it for you because my main screen happens to be over here, and it's not the one that I'm sharing. So I just got into the habit of Windows X, A, and then you saw my screen went black, and I get a UAC prompt. I would like to believe, Andy, that you can get Cascadia Cove Nerd Font chosen here as your font face, and then restart the prompt, and you should be okay.
Well, so I installed it, and I might know. So you're saying I need to? I don't know how to set it as a default. I must have missed that part.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll if you click the little down arrow and pick Settings, which is also Control comma.
Setting. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay.
Yeah. Then on the left-hand side, you see all these profiles, and one of them will be Windows PowerShell, and then you can go in there and you click. And this has gotten so, man, I remember when this settings section was much smaller. Then you can click Appearance, and you can pick your font. So, but yeah.
I'm not getting the font picking thing. I choose Windows PowerShell.
Yep. Then you got to pick Appearance.
It doesn't do Appearance.
It's kind of 2/3 of the way down.
No, so I got Startup. Oh, on the left, Appearance. Okay, got it.
Oh, you know what? Here's the thing.
Language.
If yours looks a little different than mine, if you're not seeing Windows PowerShell and it doesn't look like this, maybe I'm updated a little bit. I don't know. It's hard to say. Windows Terminal moves quickly. So, let's take a look real quick at, I think we should be able, well, for one thing, I haven't made this permanent. If I close this and I open PowerShell again, I'm back to a normal prompt because I have not added this to my profile. Now there's plenty of ways to work on your profile. I believe that this is like a reserved variable in PowerShell. In fact, let's just like, if I just say profile, yep, tells me where my profile is. It's you know, it's buried in users. In fact, my profile's, interesting. I wonder if I did that on purpose at one point, attached it to OneDrive. So I can say code profile, and now I can, I could also do Notepad. I don't have to use code, but I'm going to use code. And Visual Studio Code opened up, and my profile is empty. There's nothing here. This profile, if you've come from like Bash, this is this could be like your Bash RC file, right? Or and I know there's multiple ways to do it. In Bash, your distribution could be different. It might be profile, it might be .bashrc. I don't want to presume it's the same for everybody because it's not. It's not the same for everybody. So that command that I've been typing over and over, I need to get that in here. I need to say, hey, we're going to use this. And I think if I save it, and now if I go and restart PowerShell, oh, it didn't work.
Uh-oh.
I wonder if it's because of that strange. I wonder if it's also about the execution policy. I might have goofed that up. Let me go look. See, this is where's my oh-my-posh docs? There was, as part of installation, there was something that I did skip. I'm going to admit it, where it talked about setting execution policy. But the thing about it is, I'm surprised that why would I have to do that every time? Oh, yes, I see. No? Hold on. So to prompt, Notepad profile, init profile. Once added, reload the profile to take effect. There is something weird about my profile being located on OneDrive that worries me a little bit, and I'm not sure how I manage that, to be honest with you. So I think that might be part of it, because I think the execution policy is saying, hey, you're pulling this from the internet and it's not digitally signed. So PowerShell, that's what I'm thinking. So if I go just to double quickly check on this other work machine, I'm going to just check and see where the profile is there. And it's local. Yeah, it's local. So we're going to right now on the fly learn how to move your PowerShell profile location.
Here we go.
And hopefully, let's see if somebody gets it before I say it, before I find it. Not yet. Okay, so the profile variable, how to create a profile, how to edit the profile, how to choose a profile, if you use multiple applications. Man, neither of you know, huh?
Dark Elder's got it in the chat. Sex execution policy, remote sign.
Yeah, I thought about that. But what I'm wondering, though, is like, am I going to have to add that to the profile, which I kind of don't like? I would actually almost rather.
Yeah,
I would almost rather that it was a local file on my system. And then, of course, I didn't finish typing it. So again, I think this would work. But I'd have to add, you know what, maybe just to get by this, and then we can come back, because I don't think, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that I'm happy about doing things this way. But let's just, you know, we want to get some work done. So I can always this works, I can always come back, make it a little better. So let's try it. Nah, it still blew up. It kind of blew up because I typed something wrong. I may have typed something wrong. If I go and look at what I did, maybe I didn't have to do this. That was dumb, right? So now if I run profile again, okay. So I think that's going to work for now. I actually don't know if I recommend it. So for some, as everyone can see, for some reason, my profile is located on OneDrive. I'm going to be honest. I don't know how I got into that. I don't know what I did. I may have done it. In fact, who knows? In a past life, I may have thought that was a good idea, but I actually don't like that idea all that much. So the next question is okay, well, I've got this theme. How do I change it? Right? Because I want to start working with this theme that's doing a little bit on the front end and a little bit on the back end. And let me make this font a little bit bigger, just make sure everybody can see kind of okay. Okay. So for me, the next step is figuring out like, well, where is the theme, right? And the themes are sitting in, let me think, it might be easiest for me. How do you get these environment? This is app data, right? No, oh, if I don't spell it right. Actually, I actually don't think I need those. Is this app data? Yeah, okay, so that's app data. It's in local app data. Yeah, I think that's right. So I admit that I'm sort of trying to remember where this stuff is. And I'm going to hit start so we can look at this visually. So by default, the profiles get on Windows, because it's different in other environments, get loaded into the local profile, app data local, oh-my-posh, right? No, this wasn't it. It was app data local. And then I thought it was programs is where, yep, programs. And I'm actually not 100% sure why these got loaded here. It seems kind of odd to me. But here they are. And our buddy right here in the chat, here it is. That's probably really small, to wahoo.omp.json. So we could open up that file. And here is his contributed, or here is the contributed JSON file, right? And at first, this looks cool. It looks a little like, oh man, I'm never going to understand what all this stuff does. I get it. I felt that way. But you can start.
Well, the basic parts of it don't look that complicated, right? Like I can understand some of that by looking at it, you know?
Yeah. For me, the place to start is looking at this line in each one of these segments. So we have an array of segments. And for me, the place to start is here, because from here, when I see type execution time, I can go back to the documentation and I can look up the execution time segment.
Yep.
Make this a little bit bigger. And now I get a nice sample configuration and I get some documentation about what this is. So the execution time segment tells you the execution time of the previous command. Okay, so that's that one. Then here's one, exit code, the exit. So what does exit do? Well, I think I kind of gave it away, right? Exit is a segment that knows how to do something with the exit code. Now, you could just simply splat it out, but this particular example does a little bit more. It says, let me create a little template, and if the code is not 0, if it's greater than 0, which we presume is an error, then do something different. And a lot of times what people will do is they'll maybe put like a red glyph versus a green glyph. In fact, let's see if we can load this this theme. so that we can watch it in action. And there's some other ones in here too.
What are we loading to Wahoo?
Yeah, I'm gonna load his theme or the theme. And I just wanted to point out that when you look at this and you're trying to figure out how do I get started, how do I map this back to the docs, start by looking at the type and then go look back at that. And eventually you'll start to be like, oh, well, I know, I want to try the Git one out. Well, the Git one is sitting down here. And the .NET one is sitting here. And there's a Go one sitting here. So, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So let's get it loaded. Let's get it loaded. I think we can have it print a message. I'm out. I think we can do it. So as far as loading the customized prompt, I need to be able to, I need to know where this is, which is, let me get the path to this. And I think all I have to do is say, well, let me just, even though that's not going to go anywhere, I don't care. I just want to have that. They provide this example in the docs under customize, where they say, oh boy, look at, I love that. It's -- config. You can't even read it. This is where sometimes I try really hard to choose backgrounds that are pretty consistent, but as you can see, they're hard to read.
Oh,
so
I didn't even know it was there. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
It's hard to read. Sorry about that. Especially, I'm sure, hard to read on stream. So let's get this pasted in here. Oh, it didn't work. No, I can cut and paste, right? Yeah, that worked. So let's.
So what? Sorry, I'm a little lost here. What's this J and E W?
So this is a sample file in that folder. In fact, this folder, we can find that in here. These are all, I know this is really small. I wish I could make, can I make this text larger? Or do I have, I don't think I have Zoom It. No, I don't even have Zoom It installed. Is that nuts or what? Is that really small?
It's pretty small.
Okay. Hold on a second. It's going to take a second here. Not very long, I don't think. Should just run. Yep.
Meg says it's tiny. Yeah,
so control 1. Here we go.
Eeny weeny. There we go.
So see all these omp.json files? oh-my-posh.json? When you install this, when you install this the way I did, these themes get put in kind of an obscure place. It's kind of obscure. You can see up at the top, it's in your users folder, app data, local programs, oh-my-posh themes. It's a little out of the way. But you were asking, like, what's that Jan? Like, what's that all about? Well, the person who manages this project is this, and I'm not going to get the name right, but Jan or Jan, maybe, I don't know, de Dobler. And I feel terrible that I'm not going to be able to get that name anywhere close. And that's the theme that this person uses. But what I was going to say is, well, why don't we try one of these other themes that it comes with? And let's try our good friends, right? Might as well, it comes with it. Let's try it out. It's the one we were just looking at. So what I'm supposed to be able to do.
Like below that, there was Tony Baloney.
Yeah.
That's got to be a good one.
Let's say init PowerShell, set the config to, I want the config to be this path here. So I'm going to copy it. I screwed that up. Of course I can't. I should do this like at a command line or in a notepad. Construct it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I think this is it. Maybe. Oh, well. I blew it there, didn't I? I may end up just throwing this. Let's see what happens. Now, you know what? Let's do this a different way. Let's come in here. Let's go to our PowerShell profile. And let's put that command line put that command line here. If I put --config, I think this will do the same thing. We'll add it to the profile since I seem to be fumbling a little bit. And we'll say, load it. Okay. Oh, but see, why is it? I don't know if that's intentional. Is this intentional? Use the example that fetches from the internet. Oh, I see. Interesting. I don't think it's supposed to be a 2-line, is it? Do I have that wrong? Maybe it's not. Maybe this is the way. Maybe this is it. Maybe it's like, yeah, man. Maybe.
Let's find out from Wahoo.
Yeah. So, as you can see, I'm not including the shell flag.
Wait, Meg says you're not including the -- shell flag.
Oh, thank you.
Does that matter? No, Wahoo says you got it. I don't know if that means it's correct. It's a 2-liner.
Oh, it is 2-line? Okay.
Yeah, 2-line.
All right.
Yeah, 2-liner. So you could do 2-liners. I didn't even know you could do 2-liners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So what I'm going to do is, just because I'm more familiar with it, is let me go grab mine, at least what I've settled in on. And
now yours isn't in the yours doesn't come with it like Wahoo's does, right?
Yeah.
Yours is just a local file that you have.
That's right.
Okay.
But what I am
You're not as cool. You didn't submit yours to the open source.
Yeah,
You're holding
I haven't.
back from the community.
And it's
You're
not
holding back from the community.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's totally it.
Wahoo is an example for the rest of us to follow. And, and you're just being greedy and hoarding it for yourself.
Right. No, definitely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste mine in here. So here it is. And it's funny because there's already one called spaceship. So, but as folks who know me know that there's my common handle in the world. So let's go get that into my profile here, and we can take this for a test drive. All right. So let me clear this.
Meg wants you to paste the docs into the, I think she means the link.
The docs theme.
Paste the docs for me.
I got it.
Thank you, Rich. So this is the theme that I've been using. And right now it seems pretty minimal. There's a couple reasons why. I'm not in a folder with a Git repo. And I'm also I think there might be a little weirdness in the configuration because, or maybe the font isn't quite right on this system yet. That's supposed to be a house, because when I'm in my home folder for the environment that I'm in, then it's a house. But if I switch to let me switch to like my source folder. Now it's going to say C/source, right? Okay. The way I've configured the path is, let me go deeper. Let me pick one of these folders and go a little deeper. Let's go to this F#.NET 5 project. Now I'm going to clear the screen so you can see it. Look what's happened. The middle has been replaced with just a couple dots, and I only show the last folder. I don't know if I'll keep this at home, but it turns out that at work I happen to have a kind of a deep folder structure for the source. So it got annoying to have this really long command prompt. So I found this to be kind of cool, and I said I was using my work prompt. Now, as you can see, on the right side, I have a segment called the Azure segment, and it is telling me what my current active Azure subscription is. And I love that. The other thing this prompt is telling me is it's telling me I'm in an admin prompt because of that shield. Now, this is what I was hoping to demonstrate earlier, and it wasn't working. Like it blew up on me. So I'm going to try it again. I'm going to open up and I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to open up a non-command prompt terminal. Yeah, and it kind of doesn't like it as much, but I don't care. This is good enough to show you. So here is my regular user terminal, and as you can see, there is nothing there. The little yellow shield is not there. Some people use different icons. I actually went searching to find that icon, and then I will show you how you can search for an icon you might like too. So, but let's just take a look at what I did here. So if we open up that particular theme.json file, and I'll do it this way. Maybe this is the slowest possible way. Is we can look at my setup. So first I did a root segment, and
why don't you bump that font up a little bit?
Yeah,
Chris, if you don't mind.
Yep. I started with a root segment. So what's the root segment? We can go back to the docs, and under root, it says show when the current user is root or in an elevated shell. And then in the template here is kind of saying like, well, what do you want? What do you want it to look like? And this is some Unicode thing where it's like, well, heck, I don't know what FOE7 is, right? So the way you map this stuff is you go to the Nerd Font site, and there's a couple ways you can do this, but you can go to this icons button, and now you can start searching or looking for stuff. So if I say, in fact, I'll even just type shield, and I kind of liked, which one did I pick? Well, let's go look at my
outline one, I think.
It looks like I think I picked F998, like you said. Yeah, so I liked NF MDI shield outline. That's the one I liked. So I took that F998 and I pushed it in there. Let's look at the example from the oh-my-posh docs. They use FOE7, which I think is that lightning bolt, but let's find out. Let's copy this. Let's go back to the Nerd Font site, paste that in, and here it is. FOE7 is that lightning bolt, right? And I just thought the shield. I thought, yeah, the shield. I don't know why. You could use whatever you want. You know, use a football. Who cares? Use anything. It doesn't matter. That's what I chose. And if we take a look at the other choices I made, I wanted it to be a yellow background, so it's yellow, and it's black on yellow. And I like how Visual Studio Code shows me that very quickly. You might be asking what the 2800 is here. There is an issue with Windows Terminal with spacing, and so this is like a null character, and sometimes to make things work, you add a null character, and that seems to fix the problem, so that's what I did there. After that, I went and used this path segment, and that kind of makes sense, right? The path segment, because I wanted to see where I'm at. Now, what's interesting, if you have really sharp eyes, you might notice that this is underlining when I hover over it. You probably hard to see because I configured this so that if I click, if I control click, it opens up Windows Explorer right to that nice spot. And I like that.
That is nice.
I like that. Yeah. So how did I do that? That was a style here where in my template, I basically, and again, I didn't make this up. It's actually documented. In the template, instead of just firing off the path, I also add this dot path, and then this is the actual path and location, but this is telling it to make it clickable. And I didn't make that up. I didn't discover it. I found it in the docs. I never would have figured out. I never would have even thought of it until I saw it in the docs. Now, I'm not in a Git repo, but let's go. Maybe we should get in a Git repo so we can see the Git stuff. I'm surprised that that F# one wasn't in Git, but I think I know I've got some stuff in Git here. Like, didn't we do a whole thing with this Git hockey site? Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So let's look at that. I decided to style my Git segment with this color. And I think the color also means that I've got a couple changes. I think that this edit is, I think this is telling me that I have 2 changes in what branch I'm in. But why don't I type a git status and find out for sure? Yeah, so it is. That's exactly what it is this little pencil is telling me I've got 2 changes, and oh, I happen to be on the user C Gomez add to branch, right?
So you configured all those things. Like that doesn't come out of the box, right?
Well, to be
Like you
fair,
configured this whole Git thing.
you saw all those themes, right? So there's a lot of theft going on here. If you go to the right on the oh-my-posh site, those themes are demonstrated. So if I go to themes, the themes are demonstrated. So I saw things like Agnoster and I said, oh, this is interesting. Let me dig more into this, right? And then I looked at it and I said, well, now let me go dig into the segment. I want to say that it was the Craver theme that kind of inspired me on the Git side. I said, oh, I kind of like this. So I looked at the theme. I went and I looked at it and I said, well, what did he do? Because I think this is Nick Craver, I think. I said, well, what happened here? And I said, oh, here it is. So I started by just copying this in.
Wow.
And then after I copied it in, I got a little bold and I started reading through this template. And it's like, okay, well, if there's changes, then we want this icon and then we want it. So I admit this is pretty ambitious. There's a lot of like code in here, right? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you wouldn't just figure that out like by
No.
typing it. That's for sure.
No, I was happy to
Stash count.
steal
There's
it.
a lot going on there.
But
Yeah.
then I did pick after I started using it, I said, well, I kind of like this icon. So I think I changed an icon. As you can see, I changed the colors. I said, well, I want the color to be something else. And if I kind of have my druthers are different a different day, I might change my mind. So that's a good point, Andy, is that I didn't just like figure this out. That didn't happen.
Yeah, that's for sure. Meg's got a question for you.
Oh yeah? I'm sorry, I'm missing it.
No, that's fair. I figured I'd help. Yeah.
Thank you. Let me get back.
You want me to read it or you see it?
I noticed that when you had stuff on the right and zoomed in, the text ran off the side. Yes. Yeah. Is that something you have to fix in your terminal, or oh-my-posh? So this is why that's happening. And it's a great point, and I'm glad that it was brought up. And first of all, I don't have my, okay. So let me open a brand new command prompt just so you can see. This looks pretty good, and as I hit enter, it works fine. What I'm doing in my Windows terminal is I'm doing control scroll wheel so that since I'm on stream, I can quickly, with control scroll wheel, I can very quickly go, see, much nicer to see. But once I do that, these lines have already been printed. They've already been printed with this much space across. There's no fixing that. But the next time I hit enter, I will give oh-my-posh credit. And I don't know if this, I'll be honest, I don't know if this is oh-my-posh. I don't know if Windows Terminal is reporting something to oh-my-posh. I don't know. But the next time I hit enter, we're in good shape until I zoom in a little bit more. And then I got to hit enter some more. So I don't know that there's anything that can be done about it, because these console lines are printed based on the width of the terminal at that point in time. But that's a great, awesome point to make. And thank you, Meg, for making that point. We talked a little bit about why I love this Azure prompt so much. Well, as you can see, I'm logged into the Visual Studio Ultimate with MSDN subscription, which is a subscription I'm fortunate to have. And if you know anything about AZ, there is an AZ account command that I could use to list my accounts. So you're going to get a little bit of a side. I think tonight you're also going to get a little bit of a side Azure CLI fun thing. Well, to be honest, I'm not really all that concerned about the subscription ID, but let's play Azure Mask style and say, I only want to see, like if you type Azure account list right now, Andy, if you type it right now, and
Mhm.
you're going to get a bunch of JSON, and there's going to be a subscription ID in there. Now, I'm not saying the subscription ID is a dangerous thing, but because I'm on stream, let's demonstrate the fact that I want the display with only the name of the subscription and if it's active. That way the subscription ID isn't shown. And so if you've never done something like this before, all when you're using the AZ CLI, you can always add a query command, and then you get to learn the joy of this little query language. It's a standard language, by the way, and believe me, I had to learn. And what I'm saying here is just show me the name and whether it's active. Oh, and by the way, only show it to me for the default subscription. That's what the first part of that is. That is default with the question mark. So when I run this, all I'm going to get, let me get out of, I got to get out of Zoom. All I get is that I'm active on Visual Studio Ultimate with MSDN. If I take out that part of the query, I'm pretty sure if I take out this part that limits it, that's like that to me feels like an array. Show me the whole array, but only show me the name and whether it's default. If I do this, I'm going to get everything, my different accounts. I don't even like this format though. I don't want to look at it in JSON. Are you kidding me? JSON? What? We are not animals. So I'm JSON's great. But I can also do this, which I think is much friendlier. So the grand total of all this is if I want to very quickly see what account am I on, I could type this command and I could see I'm on the Visual Studio Ultimate with MSDN subscription. You can imagine, maybe you can imagine that I was doing this on the job quite often, but no longer, because oh-my-posh is telling me that I'm on that subscription.
And
so let's
and I do that all the time. I've done that many times. Like,
you do? Okay.
Remind myself what
Good.
subscription
It's not just
I'm on.
me. Good.
No, and listen, some organizations have many subscriptions. I mean, we only have a few, but I've got my personal, I've got a few from work. Like, it's definitely, there's options. Like, it's always a bit of a mystery. I think it's neat.
So let's change
I
it.
will say
cool.
you
I don't
can.
know if you could format it. You could. What's that, Rich?
One other thing is that table format. You
Yeah.
can default to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. I hesitated. I've set my work machine that way. I hesitated because I don't want people to be like, why is Chris getting that? Why is he getting that? Right. So.
Yeah. And there are times where it causes errors because it's like if you're doing a query against it, it's expecting to see the JSON come back, and you get a table, and then you don't get the variable back you expect. So.
Right. So let's change subscriptions. Let's change. Because again, I was talking about, maybe you're joining us a little bit late. One of the reasons that I converted to oh-my-posh was for that segment right there on the right to tell me what my current subscription is, because I was constantly looking and checking. And I might have a dev and a staging, and there might be some prod. And I'm not trying to say I have access to prod, believe me, but I might have different subscriptions, and it's really important to know which one am I on. So let's do an AZ account set. And I'm going to set the subscription. Let's use my personal Space Shot subscription there. And look what we get over on the right. And I'll tell you what, like, that was the price of admission for me. I'm like, there it is. I am sold. Everything is switching to oh-my-posh. I'm done. I don't need command prompt anymore. Sorry, command prompt. We had a good run. I think the first time I used you was in 1984. We had and I know that. I know you, boy, I really dated myself, because when that first IBM PC came home, I remember it was the same day as the LA Olympics opening ceremonies. I just remember. Don't ask me how I remember, but I remember. So that's how I know.
Almost depressing. I'm not sure if that's like a good thing.
That's when DOS 2.1 and I became fast friends. And I'm sorry, command. It's been a good run, but you're done. That's it. It's PowerShell and Bash now. I'll miss you. Well, I won't miss you that much. But yeah, that was it. That people have asked me, like, why do you still use command? I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And well, you know what? It's over. It's over. And it was just because of that, honest, because it's so useful. That is so useful. It's not the only thing you can do, of course. There's tons of great themes, tons of great things. You saw what I have going on in Git, which I think is really cool. So if I go to, I know that this is a Git repository. I think that's cool. I kind of like for long file paths, I liked having the middle go away. What else do I have going on in here? I have to look at my own theme to find out what's in it because I don't remember. Oh, actually, you know what? That's about it. That's all I have today. That's all I have today for that theme.
Chris, you can. I was under the impression that you could use oh-my-posh with any of the things and any of the commands, right? Like with command line, with all these different things, right? Yeah, right. Let me double check if it's installed here. So this is WSL, and I don't want anyone to think that you have to be in Windows, because I don't know that we'll get this working, but I've got a Linux Mint virtual machine here. So I don't care if it's Linux Mint. I don't care what it is, Ubuntu, whatever. And here's oh-my-posh installed, but you can see what it's missing is it's missing a nerd font, right? If I get the nerd font stuff fixed, then we'll see an oh-my-posh command prompt here. It's even telling me that I'm in Bash. But it's probably going to be a little bit easier for me right now to get things working in WSL. So I don't have oh-my-posh installed. So we're going to do this live. Let's look at the documentation. And it says, oh man, I really hope this all just works. Do it. Just work. Oh, it didn't work. Maybe I can't. Maybe I shouldn't do both commands at once. Let's try. So I'm just pulling this right off the docs. I need the themes still. So I need a directory to store the themes. Then I need to go get the themes with wget. Okay, cool. Then I need to unzip the themes. All right, they're inflated. And then I need to change the permissions on the themes. That's done. And now I don't really need that zip file anymore. Okay, so what's really cool is oh-my-posh installed now? Let's double check. Yep, there we go. Oh-my-posh is installed. I can do something like I can run this silly little command here just to be like, hey, oh-my-posh, do you know what shell you're in? Yeah, I'm in Bash. Of course I know what shell I'm in. What's the matter with you? And I say, okay, invoke expression, and that didn't, oh, whoops, sorry. Why would I do that? I need to be in, that's not Bash. Who would type that? I want to evaluate this, and oh, the fonts are all wrong because I've got to head over to my settings. Yep. And in Ubuntu, I've got to switch over to the Cascadia Code Nerd font, save that, head back to Bash, and voila. That is working in Bash. Now the dog's happy.
Yeah, look, dog's thrilled. I could go get my theme, bring it over here, and here I am in Bash, right? Auto exec. Oh, I love it. How did this not get onto feature chat? Auto exec.bat misses you from Tiwahoo. Not as much as config.sys. Because let me tell you, IRQ5 and Sound Blaster set, Sound Blaster something, but only when I'm playing X-Wing I have to reboot in order to play Archon and use a different config sys. Yeah, you know, look at the yep. Folks with grayer hair. No, we know. RMAG is here. He's thrilled. That's cool. So, I'm a bit yeah. Well, you know what's interesting about me is it's the lighting. The lighting on my set here, you can see the lighting bouncing off my completely black hair and making it look shiny. I have no idea. Chris, I got to fix the lighting.
Chris, just stop now. Hang on a second. You're just making it worse now. Oh, poor Chris, the way the lighting bounces off his dark,
Well, it's not
gold
dark.
locks, his lovely locks of hair.
It's all
The way the
gray.
light bounces off my head is practically blinding to the audience at this point, right? With Rich and I on screen at the same time, it's downright dangerous, right, Rich?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
when
mean,
A lot of
people come to
reflection
the
going on
stream,
there.
there's a turn down your brightness warning, right? Please, before entering this stream, turn your brightness down 2 notches. So anyways, yeah, so this is working in Bash. And obviously I haven't customized the prompt the way we did over here in PowerShell, where I'm getting back some Git information. I'm getting my Azure information. We could go explore some of the other ones too. Like I think that one, the latest command one, is kind of cool, where it's if it's red if the last command didn't work, and it's green if it did. That's kind of cool. But I don't know. I don't think, did I miss anything? What do you think about this? You know, now that I've showed it off, Andy and Rich, I want to let you tell me what you think.
I mean, I'll be honest. I love it. I think Thanksgiving when I redid my machine, my daily driver machine, I ended up going through the same process, getting it installed, and I love it. I've been, and yeah, I say goodbye to command line in favor of this. So, yeah. And you showed me some cool tweaks that I was not aware of. So I've got to go dive back in.
Yeah, I'm happy to share out
question.
That JSON file. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think this is really cool. Let me ask you this. If I'm using VS Code and I have my terminal, inset or whatever you call that, right? Like in VS Code, will I get that goodness? Because that's what I'm hoping for. And I'm hoping you're going to show me, because you're just jumping right in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now I have a funny issue with my profile being on OneDrive. I fully believe that is the cause of this issue. That when we went to go fix this machine, and I looked at my PowerShell profile, and I'm like, it's on my OneDrive? Oh, great. That means it's an internet resource, and PowerShell is going to complain. You will not, I don't see this on my work machine. Now look at what some of the issues are. The font is an issue, right?
Yep.
So I have
Yeah.
resolved this, though, because I believe, and hey, it's the Dev Talk Show. Let's go figure it out. I believe that if I go to terminal, that I can pick the font.
You have to set the settings in here too, right?
Yeah, I believe that I can pick the font for the terminal. I might have to pick it. Yeah, here it is. Yes. Controls the font family of the terminal. And you know what? I feel like I had to fight with this a little bit.
Well, it says it defaults to editor font families. So you might need to, oh, I see. It's going to use the same font family as the editor window that you have open.
Let me, if you don't mind, let me see what I did on this other machine.
You're looking at your other machine, right?
Yep.
But so this is cool. Like, this is definitely the answer that I was looking for, right? Like that, this is exciting. This just seems like something that, almost should like come out of the box. Like there's too much goodness in here.
Yeah.
And it's so configurable. Like there's so many. Now I wonder, do they add like new segments? Like, is it, like, is there updates where you go, oh, look, there's a new segment I can add or something like that?
I can't answer that like with authority, but I think the answer is yes. And also what you get is people file issues or pull requests for, hey, I made the Go segment 10 times faster, I was using the .NET segment for a little while, where it basically, but it doesn't do what I wish it did. And I even like contributed to an issue, and I should really go back, because I was one of those people that hit and ran, where I'm like, oh, issue, but then I didn't do anything to help solve the problem. So shame on me.
Displays the currently active. Oh, displays the .NET STK version is what it does, right?
Yeah, and I kind of said, like somebody posted and said, I kind of wish it told me the SDK version that this project's running under, so that when I switch to this folder, it says, oh, you're on .NET Core 3.1. And when I switch to this folder, it's like, this project's .NET 5. and that's not what it does. Right now, what it does is it says, here's the SDK. And I go, yeah, that's cool. Like, don't get me wrong, that's cool. But I think it would be really valuable to go to a folder and say, oh, this is a Net Core 3.1 project. And oh, this is a Net 6 project. Like, okay, cool. Without having to do the global JSON thing or look at it.
Right.
But
Let me ask you a
again,
question. Let me ask you a question. In an example like that, because I'm looking through the list of segments. I see Angular. I see a whole bunch of different things, right? We talked about .NET. I see Angular. So again, Angular displays the currently active Angular CLI version, right? .NET displays the currently active .NET SDK version. So if I'm not in if I'm in an Angular project, does it know that? And then it's going to only show me the Angular thing. And if I'm in a .NET, it's going to show me the .NET thing.
yes. For example, you see how when I'm not in a GitHub repo, the
Right.
GitHub one goes away. So I'm not trying to tell you like I think the segments have to be coded up to do that, but it does what you say. And one of the ways we know this is, remember when we were looking at T-Wahoos, there was a Python segment, a Go segment, a .NET segment, and none of that stuff is active.
Right.
If I switch, let's switch back over. We should look at some of the more full featured ones instead of using mine because, I mean, of course mine is cool, but I think, hey, we're here to look at different features, right? So
there's a cool one called Wi-Fi. I mean, just the fact that there's a Wi-Fi thing. That's cool.
yeah, we can go look at it. But let's bring back this one from our good friend to, and let's get this loaded in.
Spotify.
Okay, so here we go. And let me go ahead and switch into I'm gonna go right back to this I think we're gonna see some Git integration. Okay, there's some Git integration, shows me what branch I'm on. Cool. But that's not a .NET project. So let's go find a .NET project, which I got to think, what do I have here that's a .NET project? I think
EF demo apps got to be .NET.
I think the assets folder is, no, it isn't. Shows what I know. I think, let's see, stream source. Yeah, I think, what is this? Is this it
Is that
here?
a logo?
It is,
Yeah,
but it's not
like
giving me any information. Maybe that's the way he's got it. Maybe that's the way that it's set up, though. Maybe it is. Oh yeah. The template is just lets you know you're in a .NET project. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of cool.
So let's go look at the documentation for it, because this is where I got it wrong. If we look at the .NET documentation, you can get more. You can fetch the version number and stuff like that. And I think if we look at some of the other themes, we'll see that. Not that like I said, I thought it was just okay. It wasn't something that made me say, oh my gosh, I have to have this. But I think I want to say that this one does it. Does the Craver one has .NET, I think. So let's switch to that. Let's switch to craver.omp.json, which I can do by going to my profile. Because the only reason I can switch, because this is one of the themes that's getting installed out of the box. Reset the profile. And I'm going to clear this screen so we can look at it. So this is this one. And you see how it's putting out 6.0.300.preview. That command took 1 millisecond. I'm on the trunk. So I'm in an administrator prompt. I'm not sure which one this is. Maybe it's telling me it might be telling me I'm in PowerShell, maybe, compared to Bash, and then what time it is, which is cool, right? So yeah, like, so customizable. And what you do is you decide on what you like. In fact, this theme is a little creative. It's using some fonts that have some transparency in some of the characters so that it can look like it's sort of digitizing into each next segment. Kind of neat. Kind of a neat idea, I guess. You got to look
Chris,
real close to see it.
I'm scrolling through some of these.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling through some of these. There's a few that tell you what song you're listening to, like if you have
Yeah.
YouTube Music open or Spotify. There's
Yep.
one that does the weather, called Open Weather Map, that I guess displays the current weather.
Yeah. You gotta have an API key, which we don't have. But let's try. I've got to go enable. I don't have the YouTube.
API key for that.
I don't have this app installed. I don't
Battery would be a good thing to have. You know, there's a lot of some cool stuff in here.
What was the Wi-Fi one? Shows details about the currently connected network. How interesting. Well, let's add it. Let's see how easy it is to add, right? Let's try it. So if I do nothing more than copy this, if I don't do anything else, and let's head out, let's change the profile back to something that I don't care if I mess it up, is my own. And let's here are the segments on the left side, alignment left, and here's the different segments, and then here's the segments that are on the right. So I want the left. So let me add it to the end here. I need to put a comma, and let's paste it in. And I've added the Wi-Fi segment, and the Visual Studio Code isn't complaining about any of this JSON, so I'm just going to hit save and then head back out. I do have to reload this profile so that, or maybe I did, maybe I didn't. And here it is. It's telling me, so everybody now knows the ID for my network. And that apparently that I have 80% signal strength, and I don't know where it got that number from, but what does it mean? Let's take a look. Receive rate. Oh, wow. Wow, look at that receive rate, ladies and gentlemen. 704 megabit per second. Be jealous. Okay. Be jealous. Need to have
I think this is
Kubernetes context.
Really,
yeah,
really cool.
Exactly. So I love this comment from Off the Rails Gaming. Need to have it show your Kubernetes context. So let's. Was that in there? Was there a Kubernetes one in here?
Kubernetes one, I think I saw. Yeah, I thought I saw it.
kubectl displays the currently active Kubernetes context name. I can't demo that right now because I would install this and then nothing would happen, but that's not the point. I think that's a great example. That's exactly what we're talking about, right? Is these things are cool. I mean, some of them are fun. Like, okay, the currently playing song. All right, cool. I mean, I'd have to go install the app, which I don't have.
Right.
Which
the thing is, it starts to take up a lot of space on your command, right? It starts to get a little busy. Like, I think some of these things, I think there's some really great stuff in here, and I think there's a couple of things that would start to get noisy to me personally. You know,
you make a really good point, because some of the hand wringing that I've done over this prompt is to minimize its impact. Like, I took the path thing. The reason I took Agnoster was to try and shrink the path down, because I kind of work in an environment with long paths. I took the root one and I made it just the shield. Am I root or not? One character. Show me. I took the Azure subscription and moved it off to the right, because originally it was on the left and it was making this like really long.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, let me push it off to the right, you know? So I agree with you. And if I do an AZ logout, if I log out of Azure, out of the command, now it's gone. And I love that. That really helps me at work to be like, oh, I'm not in any subscription right now. Okay, AZ login. So, you know.
I mean, I think the Git stuff is really pretty awesome. Like that's stuff that you kind of want to know when you're looking at it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the main reasons for me looking into getting it, not knowing it did all this other stuff.
Right.
But
well, there's one more thing that we are not doing right now. And let's see if we can get this. We might be able to get this going live. So let me point this out. If you're in the Bash world, you rightfully can point out that once you have Git installed, do I have any branches on this? How do I, man, I don't even remember how, I don't even remember if there's a way for me to look at different branches. So, because I don't remember. So,
so when you
Once you create a branch,
change the branch, it'll change trunk to be whatever.
Right. So let's make a branch. Let's say Git branch
Switch.
And we're going to do this. Let me double check. I just want to make sure I'm not, I don't want to get myself in trouble. So, okay. I'm just being super safe there that I'm clean. Doesn't matter what I do right now. Some people at some workplaces might have a convention, and let me push this down a little bit so we can all see it clearly. Let's make it real nice and clear. You might have a convention that your branch might have to be named something like this. Maybe it's got to say user, and then it's got to be your name, and then maybe it's got to be the item you're working on, and then maybe you might even say something like fixing my code all the live long day. And then your branch looks like this when you go to switch to it, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Except here's the problem for Windows users. I'm hitting tab and I'm getting no tab completion. Andy, you have a sound for this.
Oh, wait.
Right. I'm getting no tab completion. And I will tell you folks that get Git installed. I don't know what enables this. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if it's Git for Linux. I don't know. I don't know if it's, but I have to type that out to switch to that branch. And that stinks. So it turns out there is something you can do. And I've done this on the work machine. And what I'm wondering here is, am I going to be able to do this very quickly? We're going to find out. What you do is you install poshgit. Once you install poshgit, you get from poshgit, which poshgit was if you've used poshgit before, it altered your command line to show you what branch you were on, but it was all it did was work with Git. That was it, the end.
Yeah.
And so if you go and install if you install poshgit, then you get, at least I'm pretty sure. So let's go try. Let's see if I can do this real quick. I'm pulling this from the instructions on the Git repo, and a bunch of magic is happening, and I have no idea if I have to restart anything. I honestly don't. But let's say git switch main. Okay, I switch. Oh, I didn't switch because I forgot. I call my mains trunk. Okay, so I switch to the trunk. Can I switch and just type a few letters? And I'm going to hit tab now. Oh, I might have to restart the profile. Maybe it's not that simple. And actually there may be more to it than that. But I have enabled this at work. So restart the profile. Let's try it again. I may actually have to enable this in my profile. Yeah, I probably do. So let's see what it says. Installing and then using. Oh, okay. First step is to import the module into your PowerShell session. You know what? I'm not even going to add it to the profile. Let's just do this. Import the module. Now, let's see. I'm just going to hit tab. Boom. There you go. So took me a little bit, but you install poshgit. Here was a one-liner command to do it. You can add this to your profile to import the module. And now those really long, annoying branch names, you could just, let me clear so I can make this a little bit more obvious. Switch back to the trunk because that's pretty small. I'm only going to type US. That's it. I'm going to hit tab, just tab. Boom, because that's the only one that meets. So that is super useful.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's part of oh-my-posh?
No, it's not.
No.
That, and I admit we've gone off the rails a little bit. That is part of poshgit.
That's poshgit. Right. That's what I thought you said, but I was trying to think like you were I couldn't remember if you were tying it back to you were showing us a feature. There's like a connection still to oh-my-posh, or is this a totally separate thing?
Nah, it's totally separate. So like, let's
Okay.
head over to Bash, and we say, how do we do this in Bash? How do we get to the C drive? I already forgot. Let's find out. CD. Man, if I figure this out, this will be cool. Is it in here?
Oh, Off the Rails Gaming. Is it /MNT?
Yeah, I think so. I think you say this to get. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Okay, here we are. Yep, we're getting there. Thank you. And I go to source, and then what was the?
I like the X showing that your previous command failed.
Yeah, you do like that? Cool.
Yeah.
What was the stream source? That's what it was. Okay, so here I am on the trunk, and as you can see, this is all Poshkit's doing it. I'm sorry, not Posh. oh-my-posh is doing its thing, right? And again, and Off the Rails Gaming is correct here. I'm in WSL. I don't have to be in WSL. I could go be in a Linux. I could be on that Linux Mint box that I've got running here, and I can say git switch, and I think I can. I don't know if I have a very late. And let me just type a couple letters, and I'm going to hit the tab, and there it goes. So that's just built in. And I haven't done the research to tell you like why. I don't know if that's just Git for Linux just has this, where maybe Git for Windows doesn't. I don't know. I don't know the answer. The point is that you can get this working pretty quickly, so Windows users can rejoice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, and thanks for helping me out there, Off the Rails Gaming. That was helpful. I knew there was a way to get to it. I just couldn't remember. So that's WSL, and I was hoping to say like, hey, we could, I wanted people to be able to, like, you don't have to, but we'd have to get this font fixed. We'd have to get a nerd font installed. Which I'm
well,
sure
I mean,
we
I think
could
you've
do.
sort of, yeah, I think you've sort of made the point that we could do a lot of different stuff with this.
Yeah.
And we worked through a couple. I like that you didn't just show the happy path, so to speak. Like we worked through the font issue and things like that. And I've got it working here on my side too, and I got that started. So it's kind of cool. There's seems like there's a couple little tricks that could, a couple of things that could go wrong, but nothing major, nothing that's not pretty easily fixable.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rich? You're a fan, you said, right?
Oh, I've been a fan. Yeah. So awesome to see Chris go through it and hopefully get a few more converts interested in. And it doesn't take long to do. We did it, and we played around a little bit. We got it done in less than an hour, maybe a little over. But we also experimented a good bit too.
You can put your own flavor on it too, which is kind of neat. Choose some colors, whatever you want to do. I wonder if they have like holiday themes, like if you could just like swap in and out.
We just got a bonus from chat here. So
what's
bonus content.
You want me to switch back?
Oh yeah, I didn't realize I wasn't still on. But look at this bonus content here.
Yep.
So terminal icons. This came from chat right now. So we are going to live. Are we? And I'm on here.
You're on.
We are going to install this module because you should always run arbitrary commands suggested by users in a chat.
Like
that is untrusted repositories. Yes.
Oh, look at this. This is perfect, right? Yes to all. Like, why wouldn't I say yes to all? Okay.
What was that?
So
I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
And then let's get that module going. Boom. And then we're going to do what I think it does. I'm going to do a directory. I'm just going to look at that. Look at that.
Nice.
So we got a little bonus content. The terminal icons module on GitHub will add these cool icons to your output, your folder output in PowerShell. Maybe it does more than just here at the a listing, but these icons are cool too. Look, it knows that this is a git ignore
Yeah.
file, knows this is
That stuff,
Markdown,
yeah.
Visual Studio, Doc, and these are all part of Nerd Fonts, by the way. So when you're tricking out your custom oh-my-posh segments, you will spend time on the Nerd Font site. I promise you, doing things like this, going, well, what does it have for, oh, look at that, the Azure icon. What can I do with that? Or you might just say, oh, Python. Oh, look, the Python icon. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
We got to get
Meg's
that updated. That's
laughing
the old
about,
icon.
Button boards. Yeah.
So yeah, we got that bonus content in. We took my system, which did not have this on it, and started pretty ground level. So I hope that helps people that are watching the show right now, or maybe watching in the future. I like some of these curl commands coming from Off the Rails Gaming too. That's awesome. Can you just pipe random curl commands to bash? Yeah. Hey, why don't I build something so that you can pipe them from chat directly into my system? Like, we can do that. We'll build something so that you can just start typing random Linux commands and they get piped into my WSL and executed. I'm sure that'll be
live on the
live, right?
That's a good idea. I don't know what could go wrong.
That would be a cybersecurity show where basically we say, let's see how long the show lasts. Over under 35 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you'd have Rich and me working against you too. We'd be like, I'm just slamming this guy, right?
Format C, fdisk, rimraf, rimraf the C mount, right? Boom.
Oh,
see you later.
Yeah. Yep.
So I hope that was fun. I hope people watching found something cool. And even if you use oh-my-posh, I hope that there was even maybe something for you just based on what I found. And if you have cool ideas for oh-my-posh that you're using, or if you're using one of the other theme shell systems we talked about, oh-my-bash or oh-my-zsh or whatever, tell us about it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks for piping in here in the chat. We got a lot of great comments and some good fun stuff. I hope you all had fun if you're watching live. And that's it. I hope that was fun. Yeah. What's going on next week?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that. I'm trying to remember what is going on next week. Rich, I think. Oh, Rich, you're up next week, right?
Yeah. So I had one idea, and then I saw something last night when I was doing some prep. I'm like, we got to do this. Yeah, go ahead and bring it up, Chris.
Yeah.
So we've done some of the testing thing. We did load testing probably about a month or two ago. Andy did Playwright last week, which was modern web browser test, or a couple weeks ago, modern web browser testing. This is something that I have not played around with at all, but it looks really awesome. It's actually in Azure, the ability to do Chaos Studio, or the ability to do chaos events inside of your applications.
Yeah. So do you have to flip back to show the web page there?
So just to be clear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because a lot of people might be confused. Yeah, a lot of people might be confused about this. Chaos Studio is not what they say when Andy opens up Visual Studio, right? Like, because sometimes it's just chaos when I'm in there these days. That's not what we're talking about, right?
No, not this time, or not in this context.
Thank you.
It basically injects faults into your environment, so causing your CPU to run amok on a virtual machine or on your app service component. Yeah, those experiments there, if you scroll down a little further, will have different steps related to them, and you can cause multiple things to fail. We started off the conversation tonight about making sure your application was fault tolerant, and able to handle the things to build into your application architecture to handle faults. This is one way to test those capabilities out.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what we should do is we should build out what we were talking about before. So when viewers of the stream can activate Chaos Studio in your Azure, in someone else's Azure subscription, like live. Wouldn't that be great?
Look, I love this idea. Like I haven't, today I was introduced to it, and I said, is this like, just chaos as a service? Because it's something that we've been talking about at several places that I've either been to, whether it's either places I work or other people I've talked to, is, with the kind of applications we're writing now, I think the mindset of, test and dev, and then promote to staging, promote to production. Well, all the production problems that seem to only happen in production,
right?
They're these kinds of problems.
Mm-hmm.
So you need your application to detect and respond. And I don't know. I think maybe sometimes it's hard. It's hard to shift to that mindset of, this is going to happen in production anyway, so we might as well. We actually might as well cause it on purpose. Like that's what
Right.
Netflix does, right?
Yep.
Is Netflix
Yeah,
says
they have their
Chaos Monkey, right? At least I
Yep.
believe that's what it's called. But let's just let production go down on purpose with Chaos Monkey, because we've already built the resilience into the system.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Definitely is. And this, like I said, when something I just came across last night, and it's been out for a little bit in preview. But it's I think we want to get a chance to play around with this and see what kind of damage we can do. Now, I know you're not going to be here you may not be here next week, Chris.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing where I might be sitting down a few minutes before or a few minutes after, but I think I will make the show, if not on time, at least a few minutes late, because I'm super excited about this. So
cool. Yeah, I wanted to make sure we did this when you were going to be here. So, yep, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, and then like down the road, we certainly, a lot of things we've been talking about. Maybe there's certainly some people we'd love to have on to teach us some things. Some of them view the show
on right now. Some of them might be in the chat. We've seen them active today.
Yeah.
So just need a topic.
That's right.
Meg
That's
says,
right. If you're passionate about something, we want to hear
looking
about
at you.
Yeah. Well, cool. That was fun. I hope you guys had fun.
Yeah.
We'll pick it up. We'll pick it up in a week, right?
Yeah. Come back.
So what else? Let's remind everybody, if people are here, we've got the YouTube channel, the Dev Talk Show on YouTube, and if you want to catch up on any of our old episodes, they're all out there. And we're here Wednesday nights at 8:30 Eastern Time, and so you can find us there. We've got the Dev Talk Show on Meetup. We've got at the Dev Talk Show on Twitter. We've got what don't we have? I mean, I just silenced myself from making a joke that probably wouldn't have gone over real well. But we've got accounts on all the big places, right? We're on. Where else do we need to be?
I think I kept up with all the ones you named as you named them, so they showed across.
I saw things flashing by on the screen, right? Let's see how fast. It's a lightning round for Rich. I'm gonna be like, just say them as fast as I can. Facebook, MySpace, Instagram.
MySpace, yes.
MySpace.
Sorry.
What was the one we used to be on? God, I forgot the name already. What was the Twitch thing that Microsoft had? Mixer was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
Mixer
painful.
was fun. Yeah, sorry, too soon.
Yes.
And so listen, do us a favor, subscribe, hit the like button, and give us some love if you're here. What we need is Patreon. That's what we need. So I could say we need a Patreon. We need merch. My son gave up. He used to tell me every day, Dad, where's your merch? You guys don't have a merch site. I think he gave up.
I think our only merch is
anyway.
Stickers.
You know what I do have?
I finally found my box. See that?
Nice.
This is a little blast from the past.
Oh man,
yeah.
that's cool.
Jess
All right.
made these, and he
So
sent it to me.
that's pretty cool. So should we get out of here? Should I take us out for the night?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Thank you, everybody,
Thanks.
for contributing.
Yeah.
There's some late comments in the chat there about possible topics. I'm definitely copying those down, and we'll have to make sure we get in touch.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Sing us home here. Well, let me get my guitar here. Let's see what we got here. No, I will not be singing us out. But it's too actually, if it was earlier in the evening and my family wasn't asleep, I might be convinced, but probably not going to happen now. Chris, great content today. This was a fun topic. I think it's just something that's like, again, universal. We this is not language specific kind of stuff, which is cool. I like when we have some topics that aren't, we're somewhat of a Microsoft-ish kind of show, but this kind of thing was all across the board. Good information for anybody, and I appreciate you putting this one together for us. Rich, thanks so much for running everything and keeping the stream rolling and the audio up and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just here to make, silly comments and stuff like that, but glad to be a part of the show. Big thanks to everybody that tuned in with the comments or without the comments. If you were here, we appreciate it. We had a good time, and knowing that you guys are watching makes it more fun for us. So we appreciate it. So with that, we will see you next week, Wednesday evenings, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday nights for the Dev Talk Show. See you then.